2. Dawson here. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Can't wait to get this thing started. Sorry I'm a little late, just had some technological issues. Game 1 is in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I believe the starting goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers is Stuart Skinner, and I believe the starting goaltender for the Florida Panthers will be Sergei Bobrovsky. So, we have a really good rematch of last year between these two teams. So, hopefully we have a great matchup tonight. I'll quickly go through some stats here before puck drop. Sorry. Connor McDavid leads the entire NHL playoffs with 26 points. Sam Reinhart for the Florida Panthers leads the NHL with 10 goals. Connor McDavid leads the entire NHL playoffs with assists with 20. Sergei Bobrovsky up there with the leaders of goals against average. So, hoping my boy Connor gets a goal tonight. And here they are presenting the Stanley Cup before puck drop here. I got my Oilers t-shirt tonight. So, hopefully Edmonton can pull it off. Edmonton fans booing the Florida Panthers being announced. Booing Paul Maurice now. Lineups are now being announced. Rodriguez on the wing. Reinhart will be on top line here. Seth Jones on defense for the Florida Panthers. Mikkola on defensive for Florida. And in goal, I was correct in assuming Officer Bob was getting the start. Now the Oilers lineup is being announced. Nugent Hopkins is going to be on the top line. defense. Connor McDavid will be up there. Bouchard, I believe, will be on the... Yep, Bouchard is confirmed on top line. And Stuart Skinner will start in goal for the Edmonton Oilers. And now we're getting ready for anthems. And can everyone in chat hear me all right? Can everyone hear me all right? Type 1 in chat if you can hear me all right. And now Edmonton fans are cheering, "We want the cup." Can everyone hear me all right? Now we're on anthems. Good start with the U.S. national anthem. All right, what a Canadian anthem. Welcome into all new viewers for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, as Edmonton is facing off against the Florida Panthers, a rematch of last year. And this will be a fun matchup between two great teams who have played very hard all season. Sergei Bobrovsky will start in net for the Florida Panthers, and Stuart Skinner will start in net for the Edmonton Oilers. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. see how they work out. Here's the opening face-off. Edmonton wins it, sends it into Florida zone. Here's shot. I believe deflected wide. Here comes Florida through center ice, trying to bring it into Edmonton zone, but Edmonton gets it, but is poked back into their zone. Here's Florida in the corner. Now behind Edmonton's net, sends it back up high. Slap shot saved or deflected wide by Skinner. Here's Florida, and now Edmonton behind their net. And I believe offside is going to be the call here. Sorry, I'm a little confused. Yeah, this is going to be a great series. I have these two teams got here. This will be very fun to watch. Still waiting on a puck drop here. Face-off won by Edmonton, apparently, and try and send it out the center ice, but Florida picks it up and sends it into Edmonton zone. Edmonton now sending it into Florida zone. Hard hit in the corner. Here comes Edmonton now up near the blue line. Shot. Oh, scores! Leon Draisaitl opens the scoring here for Edmonton. It was a scramble in front of the net. Leon Draisaitl jumps on top of the rebound and puts the puck in the back of the net for the first goal of the Stanley Cup Finals for 2025. Yeah, it was a very big scramble in front of the net, which starts at the blue line, and then Draisaitl puts it in the back of the net. Yeah. Kane with a few shots in front. And here's Florida behind Edmonton's net. Puck out in front. Covered by Stuart Skinner. What a start to this Cup final. Yeah, Draisaitl did a great job. Here's Florida on the side of Edmonton's net, trying to bring it up high. They do. Here's a shot sent wide. Here's Florida sending it behind Edmonton's net, bringing it back up high. Shot sent wide. Here's a shot stopped by Skinner. Welcome to all new viewers. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. I'll update this text template here for Here's Edmonton now through center ice. Here's Edmonton sending it around Florida's net. Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone. Now Edmonton behind their net, getting change going. Edmonton through center ice, Sergei Bobrovsky. Here's Edmonton now, taking it away from Florida. Florida, clears the zone. Edmonton now with the puck, sending it into Florida zone. Sergei Bobrovsky stops it and covers it. Yeah, I gotta see how many goals that is. That's his 8th of playoffs. And there we go. Here's Florida after the one face-off, trying to clear the zone, which they do. Skinner out to stop it, sending it around his net. Florida now taken away by Edmonton. Here comes Edmonton trying to clear the zone, which they do, down into Florida territory. Florida picks it up. Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton in their zone, sending it through neutral ice. Passed in the slot, taken away by Florida, who sends it down the ice into Edmonton's zone. Edmonton now. Icing, apparently the call. Icing. Yeah, welcome into all new viewers. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. So if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. Yeah, make sure to hit that like button as well. And share it with anyone you know who is interested in hockey and is interested in these Stanley Cup finals between two great teams. Here's face-off won by Florida. Trying to send it into Edmonton's zone, but Edmonton gets it back and flips it up into neutral ice. Now Edmonton takes it back. Here comes Edmonton now with the puck, taken away by Florida. Edmonton now in their zone, passing it up through center before trying to send it into Florida zone. Now they do. Here's a shot, stopped by Bobrovsky. Here's Edmonton behind. Big hit behind the net for Edmonton. Here's Florida now behind their net. Here's Edmonton trying to take it away. Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton. Offside. Still 8 offsides, and everyone gets behind the blue line, and Edmonton sends it into Florida zone. Here's Edmonton in the corner. Puck comes around, and Edmonton now behind the net. Florida tries to clear the zone, or clear the defensive zone. Here's Edmonton now. Attempted pass. Missed the mark, and here comes Florida the opposite way, and stopped by Stuart Skinner on that shot attempt. Wow. Icing is now the call. What a start for Edmonton. Quick goal by Leon Draisaitl. And scoring chance for Sam Bennett. Stopped by Skinner, though, as see has looked great throughout the last couple games. What a start to this game. Face-off won by Florida. A shot deflected wide. Here's Florida with another shot blocked in traffic. Edmonton clears the puck. And icing is the call. This has been a great physical start. Yeah, it's been really physical as Florida wins the face-off, sends it behind Edmonton's zone. Edmonton trying to clear the zone, but Florida brings it back in the zone. Here's Florida with an attempted shot deflected wide. Edmonton now clearing their zone. Florida back in their zone. Behind their net now. Here's Florida stretching play out and sending it behind the net. Here's an attempted pass, but Edmonton gets that. Here's Edmonton getting through center ice. Florida takes it away. Florida sends it deep. Edmonton now trying to get it to center. High stick call. First penalty of the Stanley Cup Finals as a high stick will be called. That's not what you want to do here. If you're the Edmonton Oilers, you take up the 1-0 lead and then you'd just take a stupid penalty. Sorry, just refreshing the page. Here we go. As we go to a commercial break. And got good thing going here. Sorry, I'm just getting stuff organized here. Let's do it here. We'll have to see. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year here. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And if you want to share it with anyone that you know is interested in hockey and wants to see the Stanley Cup Finals, please share it with anyone. And here's a face-off won by Florida, and puck sent in front. Florida sends it out of their zone. Edmonton will get a change going here. Here comes Kachuk, putting it in the zone. Passes it off to his teammate, and the shot either stopped by Skinner or blocked in front. Here's Florida from the blue line, tried to deflect it in front. And Edmonton clears the puck after a high sticking penalty. Here's Florida sending it back. Barkov being pressured here, back into his defensive zone. Here's Florida. And Edmonton gets the puck, and they clear it down the ice, and Bobrovsky is out to stop the puck, and now Florida. Here comes Florida, coming through center ice. Sam Bennett looking for a scoring chance, and that is stopped by Skinner. And Edmonton clears that puck, and Bobrovsky is out to stop that. And here comes Florida now through center ice. Edmonton tries to take it away, and Edmonton now shorthanded. 2-on-1. Tries to get it across, and they barely missed the net. What a chance by Edmonton, shorthanded. Here's Florida trying to get it into Edmonton's zone, but Edmonton pushes it back into their own zone. Here's Edmonton now trying to get a scoring chance shorthanded here, but Florida in center tries to send it in deep, but Edmonton gets it back, and here comes Florida again with a shot blocked in front. Here's Edmonton now. Power play has expired. Behind the net now. Here comes Florida, behind, who sends it in deep. Here's the puck in deep. Edmonton now trying to send it out. Here's Florida sending it in deep. Here's big hit along the boards here. Edmonton now behind their net, and Edmonton sends it down the ice, and it goes for icing. What a sequence of events. Scoring chance shorthanded. And great chances in general for both teams. Here's Florida with a quick shot. Saved by Skinner, Edmonton now trying to send it deep within Florida's zone, but Florida takes it away. Edmonton taking a big hit near the bench area. Here's Edmonton now behind the net. Edmonton now sending it into the zone. Bobrovsky out to stop it, and here comes Florida now with a good chance as the Panthers steps around a hit. Here's Florida now, fanned on a shot, sends it into the corner. Here comes Florida with a shot, and they score. Great. Well, it's tied. At least it's not Florida up 1-0. I'll get the screen updated here. Now they're possibly reviewing for a kicking motion. gets the goal. Yeah, apparently Bennett was tripped in front of the net. Yeah, it was apparently Kulak who tripped up Bennett. So they call it a goal. No distinct kicking motion. Yeah, Kulak apparently trips up Sam Bennett. Oh my gosh. You know what? I just saw something. I have a theory, alright? Bennett fakes the trip just so he gets the good goal. Just a theory, though. Just a theory. I don't think Edmonton trips him up, though. Just a theory. Anyways, back to the game. Here's Barkov sending it in deep. After the review, Edmonton gets a 2-minute penalty for delay of game. Here's Florida now. Getting the puck up through center. Sorry. Here's Edmonton now, who clears the puck. Oh, here comes the chance for Connor McDavid. But he sends it back out. And here's Edmonton now, sending it behind the net. Here's Florida behind their net. Coming out through their zone, through center. Less than 40 seconds left to go in the delay of game penalty. Edmonton clears. Here's Florida. Through center. Bennett, you dirty rat. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. YouTube appropriate. And then, oh, they score again. Oh my. Oh my. Brad Marchand. Just as I was calling Bennett a rat, Marchand scores. Okay, maybe I shouldn't call Florida rats, especially Marchand and Bennett. Oh man. That was a good tap in. Face off won by Edmonton. Icing, though. Dang. Yeah, that was a good goal by Brad Marchand. On the power play. That's tough as an Edmonton fan. steals a goal. Now Florida takes the 2-1 lead. As much as I don't like it. As much as I don't like it, Florida takes the lead. 2-1. Alright, we're coming back from commercial break. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year, so if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. Share with all your friends who are interested in this Stanley Cup final. Send them here. We plan on having some good times together, and a penalty on Edmonton for tripping. Another penalty. That's not one you want to take, especially if you're down 2-1. Yep. I think Corey Perry takes a trip on maybe Barkov. Yeah, that's rough if you're Edmonton. You don't want to take those penalties. Face off here in Edmonton's zone, and Edmonton wins that face off, and Edmonton takes it behind their net. Here's, maybe a high stick. Maybe a high stick penalty. We might get 4-on-4, and we do. It looks like. Yeah, it's going to be 4-on-4. Aaron Epplad going to the box. Yeah, I think. Oh, holding, and then. Yeah. 2 minutes. Oh, 2 penalties on the play. 4-on-3 here. 2 minutes for you can't do that. Edmonton on the power play now. Edmonton, after the 4-on-3, will go back to 5-on-3 for however long. Here's Edmonton now. It was a false face-off here. Come on, refs. Here's Edmonton now after the face-off win. Sending it back up to Bouchard. Edmonton now with a shot, and it is saved by Bobrovsky. Here's Draisaitl passing it over. Passes it back up to Bouchard. And a shot sent wide. Here's Edmonton now trying to center. McDavid passes to Bouchard, and a shot, which is saved. And pass deflected into the netting. And we'll get a stoppage in play. Edmonton has a 4-on-3 power play. I can't remember what the penalties are, so I'll check that here while we have a stoppage. Holding, apparently, or penalty, and Edmonton wins the face-off here. Here's McDavid with his shot, and is deflected wide. Here's Edmonton again. Draisaitl. Bouchard. Draisaitl fans on the shot. Here's Edmonton now up high. And the pass. Back up to Bouchard, and here's Edmonton now. Edmonton here's McDavid in a pass near to Draisaitl. 10 seconds left in the 4-on-3. And a shot. Fires just wide, and shot saved by Officer Bob. 4-on-4 for a little bit. And a save by Sergei Bobrovsky. Edmonton now on the power play for 10 seconds now. Here's Edmonton now behind their net. And here's Edmonton. Full strength and a shot. Blocked in front. Hit in corner. Here's Florida trying to clear the puck, which they do. Edmonton now through center. Tries to send it in. Here's Florida coming through center. And a shot. Save, or just went wide, actually, I believe. Here comes Edmonton sending it in deep. Florida sending it through center. Here's Florida behind the net now. Here's Edmonton now behind their net. Here's Edmonton along the boards. Through center. Here's a chance and a shot saved by Sergei Bobrovsky, and another shot saved by Bobrovsky, and a scrum in front of the net. Wow, it got, scrummy, I guess. I don't even know if that's a word, but maybe I just invented a new word. But it got physical in front of the net. Now we're on a commercial break. Welcome in new viewers. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Trying to get to 100 by the end of the year, so every subscriber helps, as I'm a quarter of the way there. And also, if you want to, you can share it with some of your friends. Have them join the stream. And if you want them to join in on a fun experience, I'm glad to have everyone here. So, yeah, it's 2-1 Florida. Leon Draisaitl getting first goal for Edmonton, and then Sam Bennett for Florida, and then Brad Marchand. Hold on, just gotta turn up my sound. Alright, can everyone hear me alright? Can everyone hear me alright? Anyways, here's Edmonton trying to send it back in. Here's Edmonton. A shot, blocked in front, another shot, stopped by Bobrovsky. Here's Edmonton trying to keep it in. Here's Edmonton in their zone. Coming through center. Sending it in deep. Here's Florida. scrum in front, and then covered up by Sergei Bobrovsky. And if you haven't yet, please click the subscribe button. Trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. Quarter of the way there right now. And feel free to invite some friends who are interested in hockey and are interested in what's going on in the Stanley Cup Finals. You could have them come here. We're all focused on a good experience. Edmonton wins the face-off. Here's Bouchard with a shot. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Here's shot that goes off the side of the net. Here's Edmonton. Bouchard tries to send it back deep. Here's Edmonton now behind Florida's net. Oh, craziness in front. Stopped by Bobrovsky. And we'll go to a mini commercial break. What a start to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Nearly 2.5 minutes left to go in the first period here. Florida leads 2-1 in this game so far. Hoping to see some more goals. And feel free to invite anyone who's interested in hockey. We're all focused on having a great time here, watching some hockey. Here's Edmonton now, back in their own zone. Here's Edmonton again, trying to come through center. High stick, apparently. So we'll get a face-off. Oh. Bennett. Oh, and then Marchand shoving Connor McDavid. You should get a penalty for that, bud, for you can't do that. There should be a penalty called here. Here's a face-off won by Florida. Florida sends it in to the offensive zone. Skinner out to play it. Shot went high, but Edmonton gains control. Edmonton now coming through center. Apparently the guy who got cross-checked isn't looking too well. Thank you, Bennett, for doing that. Here's Edmonton now, sending it behind Florida's net. Here's Florida now, behind their net. Florida behind their net. Sending it in deep here. Here's Edmonton now coming behind their net. Here's Florida now coming up through center, sending it in deep. Here's Florida now, taken away by Edmonton, trying to get it to center. Here's Florida, and clears it all the way down the ice for icing. What a game so far, and for both squads. And Florida, is leading the game 2-1. And here we go with the face-off in Edmonton zone. Florida after the one face-off. Sending it in deep now is Edmonton. Good checking for Florida as they come away with the puck. Sending it in deep. Icing waved off. Edmonton sends it behind their net. Here's Edmonton now coming through center. Offside's the call. As we'll get a face-off at center ice. And great game for both sides so far. Hard hitting. Very physical. And 3 goals in the first period here. And if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button if you're just coming into the stream. Here's Florida, coming into Edmonton zone, stopped by Skinner. Edmonton now trying to send it out. And that's the end of the first period here. As we'll go to our first intermission screen. Here we go. And what a first period here. As there are 3 goals scored in the first period. 2 by Florida, 1 by Edmonton. Leon Draisaitl for Edmonton has the opening goal of the Stanley Cup Finals. And then a questionable goal by Sam Bennett. And then Brad Marchand makes it 2-1 on the power play here. And got some hockey cards that I'm going to open up. But first I'm going to open up to the caller, and we have caller. Here we go with the call. Hello.
Hello.
What do you think of the game so far?
I think that the game is going really good, and I'm really proud of both teams. I think they're both playing a really good game.
All right. Do you mind giving us a quick introduction to yourself?
Hi, my name is Sarah. I enjoy watching your videos and your live streams. I think that you do a really good job.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
And it was a physical period for both sides.
Definitely agree on that.
Yeah, as Edmonton Florida comes out with a 2-1 lead up to this point.
It's very shocking that.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
Yeah. Maybe a questionable call on the Sam Bennett goal, but the refs deemed it a goal, so we'll just listen to the refs.
I know.
And
refs called, as it all.
And yeah, good power play goal by Brad Marchand. Nice little tip in. And
very, very skilled player.
Yeah, and Marchand came to the Florida Panthers right at the trade deadline. Yeah, the deal was done literally like 1 minute before the trade deadline occurred at 3 p.m. on. Sorry, I'm forgetting dates, but I can't remember when the trade deadline was.
You know a lot more than me. Thanks for these amazing facts, Dawson, too.
You're welcome. Yeah, I know it's like sometime in early March. And any questions on the game so far?
I think you've pretty much covered everything that there is.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the chat here.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Look forward to seeing you in the chat.
Let's go hockey.
Let's go hockey. That was a good conversation. Hi, Henry and Uncle Phil. Got some good fans from all around the world here. And yeah, and let's get to see what good hockey cards I have here. And now I already got small collection going here. And I got some Florida cards and Edmonton cards that I'll pull out here and show to everyone. Just gotta locate them here. Might take a little bit to locate some of them. And I'll just pull out 6 cards, 3 for each team, and I'll give some more in-depth analytics on who I pull out. So just gotta find 2 more cards here. Sorry if this is taking a little bit. I'm just trying to find some cards. Sorry if this is taking a long time. I should have some more Edmonton and Florida cards here. Well, this one. Got every Edmonton card now. And then I'll try and find one more for Florida. Sorry if this is taking a while. Should have another Florida card here. Anyways, we'll just go with 5 for right now. And first one we'll go with is Corey Perry. Yes, in his Tampa Bay Lightning jersey. Yeah, he's since been traded to Edmonton. And, yeah, he's done great things so far. And he has done some good things for Edmonton and assisted on a few great goals and and hopefully he continues to do some great things as Edmonton hopefully gets to that Stanley Cup. All right, now we're doing Alexander Barkov. Yeah, he has had a great series as well. Yeah, he's done some great things in the Western Conference Final for as well as the entire playoffs. Okay, I'll turn up that audio real quick. Alright, can everyone hear me alright now? Can everyone hear me alright now? And thanks, Rubber Duck. And let's get back to the cards. Now, got Connor McDavid here. Yeah, he has done lots of great things for Edmonton. Yeah, if you remember back to the last two streams, and I asked them to get a couple goals, and then a couple streams ago, and then last stream I wanted them to get a goal and maybe an assist. He followed through, so I hope Connor McDavid can continue to do great things for Edmonton, and hopefully Connor McDavid can get his first Stanley Cup. And now I'm pulling out Sam Bennett, who has a goal in this game. And he's, as much as I don't really like him, I have to appreciate things he does for Florida. And he's the league leader, actually, in goals for Florida. So, yeah. Good for him. And it might have done Ryan Nugent-Hopkins already, but might not have, but we'll do them again if we've already done them. Might not have done them though, but here we go with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He has had a great series. He's done some great things for Edmonton, and hopefully he continues to do great things for Edmonton, as hopefully they hopefully they get their first cup here. And I mean, I obviously want a fair series here. It's not like I want the entire series to be in Edmonton's favor. But yeah, hopefully it's a great series for both teams, and we'll see how things end up here. And we'll quickly go through goal scorers here again. Quickly go through goal scorers again. Leon Draisaitl opens the scoring for Edmonton, and then Sam Bennett opens the scoring for Florida. His 11th goal of the playoffs. And then Brad Marchand on the power play makes it 2-1 for Florida. And hits are about equal. Edmonton leading in hits, 17-14 in Edmonton's favor, and Edmonton also leads in shots with 14, and Florida only having 7. Blocked shots are equal for both teams. Both teams have 4. And total of 5 penalties in the first period. Edmonton has 3 penalties. Maybe just 2. Don't know why this hasn't updated yet to maybe say 1 and 3 for Florida's power play percentage. Yeah, but Florida has scored once on the power play, so they're at least 1 for 2 on the power play. Edmonton is 0 for 2 on the power play. Haven't scored yet. And pretty physical for both sides. And it's been good for both sides, as hopefully they look to win the Stanley Cup. Florida for the 2nd time in a row, and Edmonton for the first time in around 30, maybe 35 years. Last time a Canadian team has won the Cup was back in the 1992-93 season, when I believe the Montreal Canadiens won it. And Edmonton looks to bring it back to Canada. And Connor McDavid looks to get his first cup. So we'll have to see what he does and how he does it. And hopefully he scores in tonight's game before I eventually lose my voice. If I lose it. And I'll try and look for news here from around the league. Penguins have a new coach. And we'll get set here for the second intermission, or sorry, not the second intermission, for the second period here. Here's Florida now. Sending it in deep. Here's Edmonton now behind their net. Florida takes it away. Blocked in front by Edmonton. Here's Edmonton now with a chance. Sending it behind the net. Sending it back behind the net. Here's a chance in front. Saved by Sergei Bobrovsky. Edmonton retreats to get the puck. Here's Edmonton now behind their net. Here's Edmonton now. Draisaitl trying to take the puck out of the defensive zone, but Florida whacks it back in as Skinner stops that and passes it to his teammate. And now here comes Edmonton through center. Florida takes it away and sends it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton looking to get the puck into Florida's zone. Has to retreat back into their zone. Fight along the boards for the puck. Florida sends it in. Edmonton sends it in. Here's Edmonton now. Trying to get it behind the net. Swing it around Edmonton swings it around, sorry. Here's Florida now on a chance, and they score! Sam Bennett! Darn it. Well, can't stop them all. What a goal by Stuart Skinner. I'm sorry. What a goal by Sam Bennett. I'm sorry. Florida wins the face-off. Sends it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton now behind their net. Florida Panthers injured and apparently is sent back to the locker room. Hopefully he's alright. As the shot goes wide and out of Edmonton's zone. Skinner is out to stop that. Here's Edmonton now, trying to send it into Florida's zone, which they do. Here's Edmonton with a shot attempt, blocked in front. A Daniel Sports highlights. Here comes Edmonton with a shot. Scores! Oh yeah, there we go. Couldn't quite see who that was for Edmonton, but now it's 3-2. Florida still leads. I think it was number 33. I have Edmonton's roster over here. I'll have to check that out later. Here's Florida, taken away by Edmonton. Here's Edmonton sending it into Florida zone after the recent Edmonton goal. Hit along the boards, and Florida now with the puck. With a shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Here's Edmonton sending it into Florida zone. Sergei Bobrovsky out to stop that. And Edmonton gets it back now. Here's Florida trying to send it out. Here's Edmonton now in their own zone. And fight for the puck along the boards. Here's Panthers who clear the zone. Now Edmonton with the puck. Here's Edmonton through center. A trip. That should have been called. Here's Edmonton. Another trip maybe that should have been called. And here's Florida. Unable to get the shot away. Here's Edmonton sending it into Edmonton zone. Hit along the boards. I'll update the goal scorers on the next commercial break, but here's Edmonton breaking it out of their own zone. And here's Perry sending it around the net. Here's Rodriguez trying to send the puck into Edmonton zone. Edmonton now. Forsling tries to get it in, and icing is the call. Alright, let's get this goal update. Arvidsson got the goal for Edmonton. Florida clears the puck out. Here's Edmonton now, sending it into Florida zone, sorry. Here's a shot blocked in front. Here's Edmonton now. Fighting for it in the corner. Here's a shot blocked in front. Here's Edmonton now, sending it into Florida zone. Florida sends it in. Edmonton gets it back and sends it out of their zone, and no icing apparently. And that was a weird call. But here's Florida now, sending it into Edmonton zone. Edmonton now with the puck behind their net, looking to get on the breakout, and here they come into Florida zone behind the net, passing it and taken away by Florida, and here comes Florida on chance, sending it behind the net. Kachuk sends it behind once more, and Bennett collects the puck behind the net. Puck comes out in front, and puck flipped out, or tried to, by Edmonton. And just over 12 minutes left, and The second period here. 3-2 Florida. As they go to a commercial break here. Hi, Gogs. Welcome in. If you haven't yet and you're just coming in, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 100 subs by the end of the year. Here's Edmonton now. Sending it behind the net. Here's scrum for the puck along the boards, and Florida comes away with it. Here's Florida along the boards. Good hit. Here's Florida with a shot sent wide. Florida sending it around the boards. Here's Barkov, but puck is taken away from him, and puck is back out at center. But here comes Florida again. I think Marchand in with a shot and saved by Skinner. Here's Edmonton trying to send it into Florida's zone, and referee is knocked down. Edmonton sends it into Florida's zone, and back out to center the puck goes. Here's Edmonton now in their zone, sending it into Florida's zone. Here's the scrum for the puck in the corner. Here's Florida with the puck now, coming through center, sending it into their offensive zone. Stuart Skinner out to play the puck. Here's the Edmonton Oilers now, sending it into the zone, but it is icing. We'll get a face-off at the other end of the ice. If you're just joining us, please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. And feel free to invite some friends if you want them to join us throughout this Stanley Cup playoff journey. And Edmonton wins the face-off, and puck sent down the ice again for icing. We'll get another face-off here. And hopefully Connor McDavid gets a goal tonight. Want to see him get that. So hopefully he gets a goal. Face off in Edmonton zone. Florida wins it, and shot, which is saved by Stuart Skinner, and another shot just sent wide. Here's Florida now. Edmonton sends it out. Here's Florida. Here's Edmonton behind their net. Here comes Florida. Sends it behind Edmonton's net. Don't really know what that means. And here's a shot, blocked in front. Here's Florida now, sending it into Edmonton's zone. A shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Another shot, and another save by Stuart Skinner. Here's Edmonton sends it out. Florida sends it in. I don't really know what this means. Another shot sent high and wide. Here's Florida now. And just a little confused on what's going on in chat here. And here's Edmonton. Edmonton now with the puck. Sending it in deep. Big hit. And shot sent wide. Here's Edmonton now. Here's Edmonton now in their own zone. Sending it into their offensive zone. Florida sends it in. Here's Edmonton in their own zone. Edmonton now. And a shot saved by Bobrovsky. Here's Edmonton on top, and a shot steered wide after good save by Bobrovsky. Here's Florida taking the puck down the ice, and icing is the call. I don't know if I should be concerned. I don't know if I should be concerned with this. But this has been a battle between two teams. Face off won by Florida. Puck out at center, sending it in. Florida keeping it in. Here's Edmonton now. Edmonton shot and saved or blocked in front by Sergei Bobrovsky. And here's Florida in Edmonton zone. Here's Florida with a shot blocked in front. Here's Florida. Here's Edmonton clearing the puck now. Bobrovsky out to play the puck. Here's a shot. Scram in front of the net for the puck. And another shot blocked in front. Under 5 minutes here to go. And saves by Bobrovsky. And here's Edmonton now in the zone. Darnell Nurse here. Taken away by Florida. Here comes Florida. Here's Florida keeping the puck in, and a shot saved wide, or not saved wide, I'm sorry, sent wide by Florida. Here's another shot, deflected wide. Here's shot, deflected wide. Another shot, saved by Skinner. Scrum forming in front of the net. Sam Bennett has 2 goals in this game. And then Edmonton makes it 3-2 in favor of it's 3-2 in favor of Florida, and the graphic you see running along the bottom of the screen, that is going in order of the goals that were scored. That's from that's as they were scored throughout the game. I'm sorry. And if you're just joining in, please hit that subscribe button. Hello, Mrs. Uredell. Good to see people are hopping in. And I don't know if I should be concerned for the Stanley Cup final live messages. Probably should take that a little more seriously. But yeah. Please don't demonetize the channel. Please. Alright. Don't want anything bad to happen to my channel. Here's face-off won by Edmonton. Trying to find it outlet, but is taken away by Florida back in their defensive zone. And Florida clears it out. Picked up by Matthias Ekholm. And here comes Edmonton. Puck goes out of play. And Florida's done great physically. So has Edmonton. And hopefully Edmonton can bring the cup back to Canada for the first time in over 30 years. And face off here in Edmonton zone. Shot sent wide. Here's another chance for Florida, taken away by Edmonton. Here's Florida now with a chance. Shot stopped by Stuart Skinner. Here's Edmonton now. Here's Edmonton sending it into Florida zone. Here's Seth Jones behind his net. Here's Florida now. And Florida sends it in. Tkachuk sends it towards the net. Gobbled up by Stuart Skinner. And we'll go to a commercial break here. This has been a very physical game by both teams. And still don't know what I should do about these messages from Stanley Cup Final. Yeah, I didn't know whether to be concerned or not. I obviously don't want anything bad to happen to my channel. I obviously don't want my channel getting copyrighted by any means. And wanna, yeah. Yeah, hopefully everything's going alright. You know, quickly run through. I'll quickly go through the goal scorers again. Leon Draisaitl for Edmonton opens the scoring in the Cup final. Sam Bennett ties it up. And then around a couple minutes later, Brad Marchand on the power play makes it 2-1 for Edmonton. And then exactly 2 minutes in to the second period, we have Sam Bennett with his second on the goal, of the game, and then Arvidsson makes it 3-2 a minute and 17 seconds later. Here's the face-off now in Edmonton zone. False face-off. As we'll get another one. Here's Florida after the one face-off. Here's Tkachuk with a shot blocked in front. And here's Florida now behind the net after sending it back deep. Here's a shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Yeah, this has been a really physical game. Thanks, Cogs. I'll try and find shots on goal here. Florida is leading on shots on goal. Leading 21-18 in terms of shots on goal. And here's another face-off won by Edmonton as they try and get it. But here comes Florida after takeaway and dribbles towards Skinner here as Skinner covers it up. And we'll get another face-off here. Yeah. Matthew Tkachuk's shot goes off the stick and goes towards Stuart Skinner. Here's another face-off in Edmonton zone, won by Florida with a shot sent wide. Florida behind the net, try to wrap around, saved by Stuart Skinner. Here's Florida again with another chance, poked away by Stuart Skinner here. Here comes Edmonton now, and high stick, I think, is going to be the call. And we'll get our call here, as Edmonton will go to the power play. Scrum starting. Yeah, it looks like a high stick. Panthers are leading 3-2. You don't want to see your team taking a penalty, especially with the lead. Not something that you want to do. We'll see who committed the penalty. Evan Rodriguez, I believe, has penalty. 2 minutes for high sticking. So this has been a physical game for both teams. And this will be one series to remember, hopefully. And hopefully Edmonton can pull off the upset against Florida and complete the revenge story from last year. And if you're just joining in, please click that subscribe button. Also make sure to click that like button if you haven't yet. And feel free to share with friends if you want them to join in on the Cup final if they're into hockey. Feel free to invite friends. Want to provide a positive experience to all who join this stream. And hopefully Edmonton can get a power play goal to tie this game up after the Rodriguez penalty. After the penalty was taken. Here's the face-off, apparently at center ice. Won by Edmonton. So here comes Edmonton through center ice into Florida territory. Here's Bouchard. Bouchard with a shot sent wide. Here's Connor McDavid up to Nugent Hopkins. Here's Nugent Hopkins. Leaves to Draisaitl. Up to Bouchard and Connor McDavid back to Bouchard and shot sent wide. Here's McDavid. His shot stopped by Bobrovsky. Here's another shot and saved by Bobrovsky. Here's McDavid. Here's a shot stopped by Bobrovsky, and Florida clears it down the ice. Skinner out to stop the puck. Here's Bouchard now, trying to send it into Edmonton's offensive zone, and that will end the second that'll end the second period. Sorry. That's what I was trying to say. What a period of play here. As Edmonton is down 2-3 at the hands of the Florida Panthers. Yeah, good period of play. Let's see what I got in the box of hockey cards here. We'll see who I can pull out, either from Edmonton or from Florida, on the topic of this Cup final. Sorry if this takes a little bit of time. Let's just make it 4 cards this time, instead of the 6 I did last period. Or if I can just find 2, that's alright too. Sorry if this is taking a little bit. And if you're new to the channel here and haven't yet clicked that subscribe button, please click that subscribe button. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And I'm around 30% of the way there. And I'll be here throughout the rest of the Stanley Cup finals. So, game 1 through hopefully however many games it takes to win the Stanley Cup. And I'm just trying to find some hockey cards for both Edmonton and Florida. Well, I got another good one. Actually, 2 more good cards. And I'll try and pull out some Edmonton cards. And I'll try to find one more Edmonton card here, which is somehow proving to be a struggle. Sorry if this is taking a while, but you know what? We'll just go with the cards I got. And got for Florida, Mr. Sergei Bobrovsky, who has done great throughout the entirety of the playoffs. Yeah, he's had multiple shutouts, I believe. This proves to be true. I'll look up some quick stats here. I probably should have done my research beforehand, but I've got Sergei Bobrovsky, who has done great so far in these playoffs. He has 12 total wins in these playoffs. And Sergei Bobrovsky has 3 shutouts up to this point. And won't get the shutout this game because wait, hold on, let me rephrase this. I'm sorry. Sadly, Sergei Bobrovsky won't get the shutout today, but they are still leading in this game 3-2 over the Edmonton Oilers in Game 1. And Stuart Skinner also has 3 shutouts, so he's tied with Bobrovsky. And we'll add another card here, and as some might call the Rat King, Brad Marchand. Don't want to start calling people too many names. But got Brad Marchand in his Bruins jersey. He is a power play goal in this game. To make it 2-1 in the first. Marchand scored second for the Panthers on the power play. So he's also had a really good playoffs as well. Doing great things for Florida. Sadly against my Maple Leafs, who were eliminated back in round 2. Maybe next year. Now we got Sam Reinhart. He's had a good playoffs as well. And we'll see if he assisted on any of the goals here. And it appears Reinhart hasn't assisted on any of the goals today. Or tonight, I should say, sorry. But he's had good playoffs. I believe he is leading in some of the stats. Never mind. That's a different player, which I don't have a card for in this pile, but Sam Bennett leads the NHL playoffs in goals now with 12 because he added 2 goals in this game. But Reinhart has done some pretty good things for the Florida Panthers over these playoffs. Now we got another good card. Antoine Lindell. Yeah, Antoine Lindell. He has done some good things for Florida as well. Don't believe he has an assist in this game yet. Yeah, he's been doing good, and hopefully he continues to do well throughout the series. And last card in the pile here, I got Corey Perry back from when he was in Tampa Bay. He's also done some good things in these playoffs. Yeah, both in both. Actually, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. All through the playoffs, he's done great things. Yeah, for Edmonton in these past couple games. Yeah, gotten some points. And I'll quickly run through goal scorers again. Draisaitl opened up the scoring for Edmonton, making it 1-0. And then Sam Bennett opened up the scoring for Florida. And around 2 minutes later, Brad Marchand scores on the power play. And then Sam Bennett opens up the scoring in the second period. 2 minutes exactly into the second period. And then 1 minute and 17 seconds later, Victor Arvidsson got his second of the playoffs to make it 3-2 for Florida. And if you're just coming into the stream, welcome in. And if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And just over 35% of the way there. Just over 30% of the way there. Sorry. So if you're new to the channel, please click that subscribe button. And feel free to check out some of my other videos on the channel, and feel free to come back for future streams for more games that I do for the Stanley Cup final, and more streams that I end up doing. I'll find a couple more stats here. Shots on goal this period are actually shots on goal for the entire game are nearly equal. 22 for Edmonton, and then 24 shots on goal for Florida. 32 hits for Edmonton, 31 for Florida. This has been a very physical game so far. Both teams have 11 blocked shots. so far in this game. 6 penalties, 5 of which were in the first period. And Edmonton will still have a power play going into the second period. I believe 1 minute and 15 seconds of power play time. So we'll see how Edmonton can do on that power play. And second period of play should be starting up here soon. Should be starting up here before too long, so I'll switch back over to my Gamecast screen. And if you're just joining in, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm just over 30% of the way there. I'll try and move that here so you can see. I'll do that before next stream here. Second period, again, should be starting up here soon. And Florida is etching out Edmonton on the face-off percentage. Florida is 1 for 3 on the power play. So far, Edmonton is 0 for, I believe, 4. 3, sorry. And should get starting up here before too long. And here we go. Here's the start of the third period. Opening face-off of third period, won by Edmonton. Here comes Edmonton through center ice. Puck poked away by Florida, and Edmonton forced to regroup as they send it behind Florida's net. Less than half a minute to go in the penalty for Florida. Here's Edmonton now. Bouchard passes it to Draisaitl, and Bouchard with a shot saved by Bobrovsky, and Florida clears it down. But not all the way down to the opposite end of the ice, though. But now they do. And Here's Bouchard behind Edmonton's net. Sends it up. Here's the puck behind net now. Controlled by Florida. Sending it behind the Edmonton net. And here's Edmonton now. Pass broken up by Florida. Sent around the boards. Here's Edmonton now. Coming through center. Putting it into Florida zone. Florida sends it back out to center ice. Here comes Edmonton. Trying to send it into Florida zone, but Florida takes it behind their net. Bennett sends it in. Skinner gloves it, and we'll get a face-off here. If you're just coming in, please click that subscribe button. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm 30% of the way there. And feel free to share it with a friend who also enjoys hockey. And here's Florida after the face-off at center. Shot deflected wide. Scrum along the boards for the puck. Edmonton has it now. Sending it out to center. Florida regains control of the puck, tries to send it into Edmonton's zone, but Florida comes back with a shot. I believe that was saved by Skinner. And here comes Edmonton now, coming from their zone. Sending it deep within. Here's Edmonton coming from their own zone now, coming through center. In their own zone with a shot, sent wide. Here's the puck behind the net. Here comes Edmonton. Tried to center, but Florida gets it out. Edmonton now with the puck in their own zone. Edmonton sends it into Florida zone, and now here's Florida sending it into Edmonton zone. Here comes Edmonton. Stick on the ground of the ice, and Florida sends it into Edmonton zone. Florida now behind Edmonton's net. Tried to send it back around, but Edmonton gets the puck back. Coming through center now. Bennett swings it around behind Bobrovsky. Florida tries to get it into Edmonton's zone. Here comes Florida. Shot. Deflected it up into the netting. This has been a really good game for both sides. And been a really physical game up to this point. Both teams laying big hits. And Edmonton is still down 3-2 in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Here's a face-off won by Edmonton, taking it up through center. Excuse me. Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone. Florida trying to center it. Here's Florida again. Edmonton trying to pass. Couldn't quite get that pass connected. Panther goes on the slip and slide as Edmonton sends it deep within Florida zone. Here's Florida now, sending it within Edmonton zone. Edmonton trying to send it back across the boards and get it out. Here's Edmonton with a chance. Shot sent wide. Here's Florida trying to send it out of their zone, and they do. Here comes Edmonton, sending it into Florida zone. Sergei Bobrovsky out to stop that and sends it to center ice. Here comes Edmonton. Here's a pass in front. They score! I believe Matthias Ekholm got the goal for our Edmonton. What a goal. I believe Matthias Ekholm got that goal. And he did, his first of the playoffs. Face-off won by Edmonton. Edmonton sends it into Florida zone. Here comes Florida after retrieving the puck. Sends it into Edmonton's corner. Here's Klingberg now. Edmonton now taking it through center and into their offensive zone. A little trip up in the zone, but Florida gets it out of their zone. Here's Edmonton now in their own zone. Coming through center. Vander Kane decides to turn back into his zone, and then Edmonton gets it into their zone, and then Bobrovsky covers it up. Yeah, I'll update this. And this running template type thing is all goal scorers and Sorry, I gotta update this again. Yeah, all the goal scorers are in order from the first period to as of Ekholm got the goal. So, just so everyone's aware. And yeah, this has been a really physical game for both teams up to this point. Both having big hits for both teams and great chances for both as well. And plan to do more streams like this through the rest of the Stanley Cup Finals, and Florida wins that face-off. Sorry, I'm getting back into the game. Florida now. Edmonton takes it, but there's a scrum in the boards for the puck, and centered pass didn't get it to its intended target. Sorry. Now here's Florida again. Pass blocked and deflected out to center ice by Edmonton. Florida sends it in deep. Here's Edmonton now behind their net. Here's Edmonton through center. Here's Edmonton now behind Florida's net. Here's Bouchard. Here's Edmonton. Florida trying to get it out of their zone. They do. Here's Florida. Pass deflected. Here comes Edmonton the opposite way. A shot deflected. And another shot by Bouchard, gloved by Bobrovsky. And we'll see if this game goes into overtime tonight. But so far, it's been a really good game for both sides. And face off here in Florida zone, which is won by Florida. Here's Florida with a shot sent wide. Florida with a pass. Okay, maybe Edmonton sent it down the ice, because that is called icing. So we'll get another face-off in Edmonton zone. Face-off won by Edmonton. Edmonton now trying to clear it out of their zone. Scrum along the boards for the puck. Here's Florida with the puck now. Edmonton takes it back behind their net. Puck bounces out to center, but Florida takes it back into their zone. And fight along the boards for the puck. Florida gets it, sends it, or tries to send it behind the Edmonton net. Here comes Edmonton, trying to get it into their offensive zone. And Florida sends it in for icing. What a game for both teams up to this point, as it is tied 3-3. As Matthias Ekholm, assisted by Connor McDavid and Kapanen, which is McDavid's first point of this series. We'll have to use that face-off again. And face-off is won by Florida, and they send it out to center. But Edmonton, sends it back in. Here's a good chance. And that was so close. I kind of thought that went in as well as some of the fans, but Bobrovsky made a great save. Here's Edmonton on a breakout. Here's a shot. Glove saved by Sergei Bobrovsky. And that shot by McDavid just went off the elbow of Bobrovsky. That was so close. Yeah, great game up to this point. It is tied at 3. And the goal scorers are going underneath my webcam here. We'll try and slow that down here. Alright, got that. Yeah, I don't expect everyone to read super fast. And hits are in favor of Florida, 42-35. Edmonton takes control of the blocked shots, 15-11. And shots are nearly the same, with Edmonton having 26 and Florida with 25. And welcome in all new viewers. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of this year. And Edmonton with a shot, which is saved by Bobrovsky. Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone, and Edmonton picks it up. Edmonton behind their net tries to pass it up to center, but Florida takes it away and tries to send it into Edmonton's zone. And here's Marchand with a good move. Shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Edmonton now behind their net. Here's Florida now. Shot blocked in front. Edmonton tries to clear the puck, but here's Florida. Another shot sent wide. Another shot saved by Skinner. Edmonton sends it around the boards and gets it out to center. Here's Edmonton now behind the net. Edmonton coming through center. Trying to send it into Florida zone. Here comes Florida. Shot went wide. Here comes Edmonton now. Barely keeping it in the zone. Behind the net now. Here comes Sam Bennett. Here comes Edmonton from their own zone through center, sending it in towards Bobrovsky, and Bobrovsky stops it. This has been a really good game up to this point. Lots of great scoring chances. This game is tied 3-3 with just under 7 minutes to go here in the third period. We'll have to redo the face-off here. Which Florida wins. I'm so sorry. Here's a scramble on the boards for the puck, which Edmonton wins. Bouchard with shot. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Here comes Florida now. Taken away by Edmonton. Florida again. Lots of turnovers here. But here comes Edmonton, sending it towards Bobrovsky, and he puts that into his glove. Yeah, this is really great game for Edmonton and Florida alike. It's great game one so far. Edmonton now with 30 shots on goal. Here comes the face-off. Here's the face-off won by Florida. Sending it out to center ice. Here comes Edmonton from their own zone. Tries to send it in, but here comes Florida, taken away by Edmonton, sending it into Florida zone. Bobrovsky out to stop that. Here's Edmonton now with a shot. Well, another shot. Just went wide. Another shot. Saved by Bobrovsky, and a scrum forming in front of the net. Getting physical. Don't need to take any 5-minute majors, especially in the third period when it's tied. Anyways, they'll go to a commercial break. The game is tied at 3. And locate more stats. Edmonton is leading in blocked shots with 9. That's giveaways. Florida has 7. Edmonton has 15 blocked shots. Florida has 11. Florida has 42 hits, and Edmonton only has 36. Edmonton has 33 shots on goal. And Florida only has 26. And we'll have to see what the next nearly 5.5 minutes have to bring. So, and this is game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. And if you're just coming in, please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. And I'm around 30% of the way there. Here's face-off won by Florida as they send it down the ice. And here's Edmonton now trying to clear it. And they do, and icing will be the call. And I'll be here throughout the rest of the series. And face-off won by Edmonton. Shot by Florida, saved by Skinner. And here comes Edmonton now, sending it into Florida's zone. Florida sends it back around the boards, but Edmonton tries to send it back in. Here's Edmonton now trying to center. Here's Florida now, bringing it out the center. Picked up by Edmonton. I'm sorry. It's getting late where I am. Here's a scrum along the boards. Here comes Barkov, passing it up along the boards. And here comes Edmonton. Here comes Florida with the shot. Saved by Skinner. Here it's Florida trying to send it in. Edmonton picks it up and sends it into Florida's zone. Here's Edmonton with a shot, saved by Bobrovsky. Yeah, as much as I don't really want overtime, kind of want to see an exciting end to game 1. But we still got just under 4 minutes left to go here in regulation. And then maybe we can get a little bit of overtime. Here's Florida, who won the face-off, sending it behind their net. Here comes Florida, trying to clear it, but Edmonton takes it right back. Here's Florida. Gets it out of their zone. Here's Edmonton in their zone, sending it into Florida territory. Florida now getting it through center. Here's Florida at center, sending it into Edmonton zone. Skinner out to stop that. Here comes Edmonton through center, trying to get it into Florida's zone. Here comes Edmonton with a chance. Oh, good stop by Sergei Bobrovsky. Here comes Florida from behind their net. 2.5 minutes left in regulation. Game is tied 3-3. Here's Darnell Nurse from behind the net. And he's trying to send it in. Good hit along the boards. Here's Edmonton now trying to send it deep. Florida gets it out. Here's Florida now, who goes behind their net. Here comes Florida, dumping it into Edmonton's zone. Skinner out to stop it. Sends it back around the boards, back to center ice. Florida sends it right back in, though. Skinner out to stop it again. Here's Florida, sending it behind Edmonton's net. Less than a minute and a half to go. Shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Here comes Edmonton. Less than a minute 15 left to go. Here comes Florida. Edmonton sends it behind their net. Sending it down the ice towards Bobrovsky, who directs it towards the corner, and Florida puts it down the ice for icing. This has been an exciting game up to this point. Less than 50 seconds left to go. Hopefully we can see a goal by either team here. Here's a face-off won by Edmonton. Shot sent wide. Bobrovsky pokes it after it comes back in front of his net. Here's Edmonton sending it behind the net. Here's Edmonton again behind the net, and the shot sent wide. Marchand clears the puck for icing as that goes all the way down the ice. Oh yeah, I think that did go into the net. Refs must not have seen it though. As of right now, less than 20 seconds left to go. Don't know what they're doing here. Okay, apparently there's a face-off in Florida's zone here. Maybe they might put some time back on the clock. Refs are going to review this. And time is bumped back up to 25 seconds. Up from the 18 seconds that was originally on the clock. Here's a face-off won by Florida, and they send it out of Edmonton's zone. And the puck goes into the bench. And hello to all those who are coming in. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm 30% of the way there now. And 15 seconds here left in regulation. 10 seconds left in regulation, and it seems like we might get overtime here. And we're going to overtime. As that shot is sent wide. Well, we're going to overtime. As game 1 has good ending. Look at the end of regulation. I'll screen up here. I'll stand that here. I'll fix that here. There we go. This has been quite a game up to this point. I'll quickly go through goal scorers here again. Goal scorers are Leon Draisaitl to open up the scoring, and then Sam Bennett for Florida ties it up, and then Brad Marchand makes it 2-1 for Florida on the power play, and then Sam Bennett makes it 3-1 exactly 2 minutes into the second period, and then Arvidsson makes it 3-2 minute and 17 seconds later. And then Matthias Ekholm, around 6.5 minutes into the third period, makes it 3-3. And that's how we got to this overtime. And Edmonton leads in shots, 36-26. Florida has more hits with 43, and Edmonton has 18. There goes the physicalness of this game again. Edmonton has 16 shots, and Florida only has 13. Edmonton had 14 shots in this last period. Florida only had 2. Still waiting on that Connor McDavid goal. Hopefully that'll come here in this overtime. a good reputation with Connor McDavid scoring on these live streams. The past two that I have done, Connor McDavid has scored in both. So yeah, hopefully Connor McDavid can get it done. And yeah, I can hopefully get a good night's sleep here and get rested for game 2. And I'd preferably not stay up too late, but up late enough to give you all this experience to get together as kind of a little community and watch hockey together. And might as well go try and find some last cards. I'll just pull one more card out. And that card is Connor McDavid. Don't really remember which season that's from, but it's a good card. And Connor McDavid has been doing great this playoffs. He has an assist in this game. He's, as I said, goals in each of the last 2 streams that I've done here on the channel. And hopefully McDavid can get a goal here tonight to keep that streak alive. And hopefully I don't lose my voice here before too long. Gotta save it up for next stream. And yeah, hopefully this overtime is the best overtime we can wish for. I'll try and pull up a couple more stats here. Not gonna bore everyone with numbers. Florida has 7 takeaways. Edmonton has 3. And Edmonton has 11 giveaways and Florida only has 9. Put these cards back in case. And we've done good streams in the past, and we'll continue to do more streams throughout the Stanley Cup Finals. So if you enjoy watching this content, please consider giving this channel a subscribe so I can continue doing more stuff like this. And want to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm currently around 30% of the way there so far. And these games are so late. We'll see if I can make it through overtime. And no penalties in that third period. Florida is 1 for 3 on the power play. And Edmonton is 0 for 3. And might as well hang tight for the start of overtime. Maybe we could start like a virtual wave when, okay, trying to form words, but I'm getting tired, y'all. I'm getting tired. Maybe we could start that virtual wave now if we need. We can get some hand emojis in the chat to start the virtual wave. We can start in 3, 2, 1, and put those hands up in the chat for that virtual wave. Okay. Virtual wave going around the virtual stadium. Sadly, I might be the only one. Hey. I'm afraid the wave may have died down. Yeah, I guess given the time. Well, something to experiment with in future streams. And should be coming up on overtime here. Yeah. Not Edmonton. Overtime should be here shortly. I'll start a quick Q&A on who you all think will get the overtime win it. Yeah, I mean, it's completely up to you. I mean, you can cheer for whoever you want. But, yeah, me personally, I'm cheering for Edmonton. So, you can cheer for whoever you want. And got Q&A started. Oh wait, did that clear the entire chat? Well, I started a Q&A on if you want to vote for the, or not vote for the Q&A, sorry. Oh, and we're back. Here's Edmonton, or taken away by Florida. Here's Florida with a shot deflected wide. Didn't really realize we were back here, and chaos in front. Stopped by Stuart Skinner. Wasn't really expecting overtime to start that fast, but then again, I kind of wanted it to start early. I got a little too distracted by the Q&A. Here's a face-off won by Edmonton. Here comes Edmonton through center into Florida territory. Here comes Florida. Breakout 3-on-2 and a shot deflected wide. Here comes Florida again with another shot deflected wide again. Here's another shot. Believe blocked. Sent behind the net. Here comes Florida. Tried to center, but Edmonton comes with the puck. Edmonton trying to center, or send it in, sorry. Edmonton sends it behind the net. Here comes Florida. Behind their own net. And here comes Florida coming through center. Sending it behind Edmonton's net. Here's Florida with a shot blocked in front. Here's Florida again. And a shot in front saved by Skinner. Here's Edmonton now. 2-on-1. Sent just wide. Sorry. Here comes Florida sending it in. Here comes Edmonton now, trying to send it out. Here's Edmonton now. Taken away by Florida. Florida with an attempted shot blocked by Edmonton. Florida at center, taken away by Edmonton, who tries to send it in. But here comes Florida. Shot just wide. Here's another shot deflected into the netting. Yeah, some great action in overtime. Face off won by Florida. Edmonton trying to clear it. Here comes Edmonton through center. Puck sent towards Bobrovsky. He turned it away, I believe, or it just went wide. Here's a puck in front, sent away by Bobrovsky, and shot sent just wide. And here comes Florida, sending it around the net. Here comes Edmonton. Edmonton sends it in, and Florida tries to get it back out, and Edmonton sends it back in. Florida behind their net sends it out to center, but Edmonton quickly retrieves the puck and sends it back in. Here comes Bobrovsky out to play it. And a shot saved by Bobrovsky. And the puck goes out of play. Welcome into all new viewers who may have joined us. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of this year. I'm 30% of the way there so far. And this has been a great game up to this point. And here comes Florida, trying to dump it into Edmonton's zone. Edmonton runs it around the board, and here comes Edmonton. But Florida takes it back. Here comes Edmonton through center. Florida gets it back, and offsides may be the call. Oh, and we'll scrum near center ice. And sorry, I nearly forgot I had the intermission screen. There we go. We're back ready for OT. I gotta upload this. There we go. Now that that's all fixed, here comes the face-off at center ice. Florida wins that, and they send it through Edmonton's zone. Edmonton now behind their net. Gets it out to center. Here comes Florida now. Florida sends it in to Edmonton's zone. Florida with a shot. Saved by Skinner. Here's Florida racing for the puck. But icing is the call. Yeah, that was a good chance for Florida. But Yeah, Stuart Skinner made a great save. Here comes the face-off. Won by Florida. Sends it behind Edmonton's net. Marchand trying to fight for the puck. Here's Edmonton with the puck now. Out the center and a big hit. Maybe a penalty. On Corey Perry, maybe, for a check to behind, kind of. I mean, that's kind of what it looked like. Okay, I guess no penalty on the play. Here's face-off, which we'll have to do again. Here's the actual face-off, and Florida wins that. Here comes Edmonton, actually, from their own zone, sending it through center. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Here comes Florida. Edmonton trying to send it into Florida zone. Here comes Florida, sending it into Edmonton zone. Puck's behind the net now, and here comes Edmonton. Here comes Edmonton with a stretch pass and gets it in behind Bobrovsky. Here comes Florida, sending it behind the net. Skinner out to play it. Here comes Florida. Here comes Edmonton. Through center. Here comes Florida. Trying to send it into Edmonton zone. Here comes Edmonton. Trying to catch Florida in the middle of the line change. And they missed. They missed. On the partial breakaway. And the icing will be the call. Oh, that was close. That was very close. Don't think it was McDavid. Yeah, it wasn't McDavid who. And Bobrovsky made the toe save. Florida wins that face-off and sends it into Edmonton zone. Here comes Edmonton, hits a ref. Here's a shot. Sent wide. Here's another shot. Saved by Bobrovsky, and Florida chips that out to center ice. All the way down. Icing will be the call. Yeah, this has been a wild game. Yeah, and the puck was sitting right in front before Florida chipped it out in a high danger spot. Florida wins that face-off and tries to send it into Edmonton zone, but they get it out to center ice. Here's Edmonton sending it into their zone. Their offensive zone, I should say. And puck is sent back out and down the ice. Stewart Skinner out to play it. There are two Skinners on Edmonton. One's the goalie and one's the skater. Here's Edmonton in their zone. Taken away by Florida. Florida sends it in. Stewart Skinner out to stop that. Here's Edmonton now. Trying to send it in to this offensive zone. Here's Edmonton now. Up high and shot blocked in front. Here's Edmonton keeping it in the zone. And great shot saved by Bobrovsky. And Florida sends it down the ice for icing. That was a great shot by Edmonton, but an even better save by Bobrovsky. I thought that was going to be game over, but Bobrovsky ended up making a great save. Oh, he was so close. He was so close. Won by Edmonton. Here's Edmonton up high. With a shot. Blocked in traffic. Here's Florida. Trying to get it out of Edmonton's offensive zone. Which they do, and Edmonton retreats in towards their own zone. Here's Edmonton now. Kane with a pass that didn't really do much. Here's a shot that went wide of Bobrovsky. And the puck goes behind the net again. And here's a chance. Shot saved by Bobrovsky. Here's McDavid, passes it to Draisaitl, I believe, and then here's a shot saved by Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky's on fire tonight. Well, at least in these past couple minutes, he's been on fire. And this game is tied at 3. The goal scorers are being shown along the bottom of the screen, or the video, as well as the score in the period. This has been a physical match, both ways. Great plays from both teams. Great chances to win it, but sadly, no one able to capitalize yet. And hopefully we find a winner here soon. Here comes the face-off. We'll have to do that again. Face-off won by Edmonton. Quick shot sent wide. Here comes Edmonton behind the net. Florida takes it. Coming through center, putting it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida coming through center. Puts it behind net, and Skinner was out to stop that. Here's Edmonton behind their own net. Here comes Edmonton through center. Puts it into the offensive zone. And here comes Florida, sending it into Edmonton's zone. And here comes Edmonton back the other way, as Florida goes to pick that up in the corner. And Florida sends it down for icing. And this has been a great game for both teams. Edmonton wins the face-off in a shot sent wide. Here comes Edmonton with a shot. I believe sent wide again. Less than 8.5 minutes to go in this first overtime. And another shot sent into the chest of Bobrovsky as he covers that up, and the scrum starts in front of the net. This is a late game, at least for me. This has been a great game, though, to watch. And Edmonton has over 40 shots, and Florida has nearly 30. And here comes Florida coming through center, putting it into Edmonton's zone. Florida puts it back, and puck went into the netting. Yeah, this has been a wild game up to this point. Less than 8 minutes to go in this first overtime. Here comes the face-off. Won by Florida. Florida sends it behind the net. Here comes Edmonton now, sending it into Florida's zone. Here comes Florida. Florida sends it into the netting, as we'll get another face-off here shortly. This has been a wild game up to this point. Lots of hits, lots of shots on goal. And yet we still haven't found a final score yet to this game. And It was hard to tell who won that face-off, but here comes Edmonton. Trying to send it up towards center. Here's Florida now with a shot. Saved by Stuart Skinner. And 7 minutes, 1 second left in overtime. At least the first one. This has been such a wild game. Here's cross-check that should have been called. Right in front of the ref, too. Fight along the boards for the puck. And Florida tries to send it into their zone. Puck goes behind Stuart Skinner. Here's Florida now. Behind the net. Shot sent behind and wide, but Skinner gets it with his glove. Less than 6.5 minutes left to go in overtime. Still tied at 3. I wasn't expecting the game to go this long, but this is the playoffs. So, playoff hockey is playoff hockey. Here's the face-off won by Edmonton. Florida. Excuse me. Here comes Edmonton. Trying to send it through center, but Florida sends it right back into Edmonton's zone, and Stuart Skinner was out to play the puck, and Edmonton sends it down the ice for icing. Maybe in penalty? Who knows? But some equipment is on the ice, which was picked up by the refs. Here's the face-off in Edmonton's zone. Won by Edmonton. Icing again. As Edmonton sends it down the ice. Less than 5 minutes, 45 seconds left to go in this first overtime period. Here's Edmonton. Florida at center. Here comes Florida with a shot sent just wide. Here's Florida behind the net. Florida sending it behind the net again. Here's Florida behind the net. Hit again. Here's Edmonton. Now carrying the puck behind their net. Tkachuk keeps it in. Edmonton plays it out through center. Here comes Florida. Offside seems to be the call. Nearly 4.5 minutes left in this first overtime period. This has been such a wild game up to this point. Nearly 80 minutes worth of hockey. Here comes Florida behind net. Edmonton now brings it up to center, but Florida tries to send it back into the zone, but now Edmonton trying to fight for possession. Here's Florida coming through center, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Puck sent towards Stuart Skinner, but he elects to play the puck. Here comes Edmonton from behind their net. Out the center ice, but Florida takes the puck away. Here comes Florida with a shot towards Skinner. He saves that. Here's Edmonton now, sending it behind Florida's net. Florida sends it back, and icing is the call. And starting to get a little tired, so maybe after this first overtime, might sadly have to call it a night. Here's Edmonton. Apparently we have to redo that face-off. Here's Edmonton again with a shot deflected wide. Here comes Florida with a shot directed towards Skinner, which was deflected away, and puck goes over everyone's stick, and that'll be icing. We'll get a face-off here in Edmonton zone. Florida won the face-off, sending it into the far corner. Here's Florida again, sending it around the net. Here's Edmonton again, trying to clear the puck. Here's Edmonton, trying to get a break. Well, here they go. Oh, that was a great chance and a great save by Bobrovsky. Oh, I nearly thought the game was over. Here's another chance, saved by Bobrovsky. Here comes Florida, and that puck goes out of play. That'll be a delay of game. It looks like. No Skin, I think, will get the penalty for delay of game. Yeah, that puck goes straight out of play. That'll be delay of game. Hopefully, Edmonton can score here before too long. Excuse me. Here comes McDavid in for the face-off, and Edmonton wins the face-off here. Bouchard passing it over to McDavid, and here's McDavid. Back to Bouchard. Here's McDavid with a shot. In the netting. This has been a wild game. Yeah, that deflected right off Bobrovsky. Right into the net. Nearly a minute and a half left to go in the delay of game. I'll have to do that face off again. Here's the face off. Florida wins it, and they clear it out of the offensive zone. Less than a minute and a half left in the penalty, and 1 minute left to go in this first overtime. Here comes Florida shorthanded. Sends it behind the net. Skinner gets the puck. Here comes Edmonton with speed. Here's Bouchard with Nugent Hopkins. Here's a pass in front, and they score! They score! Edmonton takes game 1, 4-3 in overtime. Wow. Just when I thought all hope was lost, Edmonton takes game 1. Wow. Well, what a stream. Edmonton takes game 1, 4-3 in overtime. Draisaitl gets the OT winner. That was a physical game from whistle to whistle. Yeah, it wasn't quite McDavid magic that I was looking for. Well, I guess he got the assist. Yeah, McDavid got the assist. So at least he got 2 points. But great game. Great game. And I'll see everyone for game 2 in I believe, a couple days. So, great stream. I'll see everyone.